Hello everyone and welcome back to another very interactive chess game by Bobby Fischer against an amateur chess player from a chess Simul from 1964 United States. So in this chess game, Bobby Fischer's opponent is an unknown amateur chess player named Michael Bedford. So Bobby Fischer's opponent was not Tigran Petrosyan or Boris Spassky, but in these chess games, of course, Bobby Fischer's opponents are usually making some important mistakes, and they are actually very important for the improving chess players, because actually we can get some important lessons and we can actually learn from those mistakes. We can get some important lessons by watching these mistakes. So this is why actually when we see an amateur chess player struggling against a strong chess master, it is always going to be instructive, as we can get important lessons from them. So when we see two super grandmasters competing with each other, especially in today, the first 20 or 30 moves is mostly computer moves, and you are never going to see some weak, inaccurate, bad moves in those chess games, especially in the opening, in the middle game section even. So this is why getting important lessons from those games is not going to be easy. So this is why I like Fischer's, especially Bobby Fischer's chess games in these chess simuls against amateurs. So this is also another very nice example when Bobby Fischer simply outplayed his opponent with his superior understanding, of course. So and always, of course, Bobby Fischer's chess games are historically interesting because Bobby Fischer was a very interesting chess player. Everything about Bobby Fischer is interesting in my opinion. So let's begin. Fischer starts the game with e4, and we have g6, the modern defense, d4, bishop to g7, knight to f3, d6, and developing the pieces, bishop back, and Bobby Fischer usually like to place his bishop on b3, so this is a typical Bobby Fischer move. Knight to f6 and developing the knight and also defending the e-pawn. So both players castled. Knight to h6, h3, prophylactic move, not allowing bishop to g4. So knight to c7, bishop to e3, bishop to e6, and then Bobby Fischer is charging to the center, and actually he has some space advantage in the center. So bishop to d7 and then knight to d4. So queen over, maybe black is planning to sacrifice his bishop, so maybe another prophylactic move, king to h2, and then b5, a3, pushing the pawn, and Bobby Fischer is developing his queen finally on f3. So we have rook over, so black is planning to expand from the queen side, and then a4, and also attacking the b-pawn, so pushing the pawn and fixing the b-pawn, but Fischer's knight is hopping in on b5. So exchanging the knights and capturing back with the pawn, and this pass pawn is looking annoying. So knight to c6 is also looking very annoying. So forking the rook and also the pawn. So if capturing, of course, creating another annoying pass pawn is possible. So if capturing the knight with the bishop. So this is why bishop takes on b5, knight takes on b5, and then rook takes on b5, and Fischer played queen to e2, and black is dropping his a-pawn, and Bobby Fischer has the control of the open a-file. He can also double his rooks and then infiltrate, and they say rook on the 7th is a pig on the 7th. So it's a saying at chess, but actually sometimes for positional advantage, actually you can consider sacrificing heavy pieces. You can consider sacrificing the exchange, or even in some cases you can even sacrifice the queen for better position, of course, for few extra pieces, and depends on the position, of course. And in this position actually black should consider queen to b7 according to the computer chess engine. And bishop to c4, maybe black considered this and black didn't like this, because this is dropping the rook, sacrificing the exchange, and the rook is trapped. So rook takes on d5, bishop takes on d5, and queen takes on d5 and holding the a-pawn, and now black is getting two extra pawns for the exchange, plus a good position, a decent position. It's still against Bobby Fischer. This could be dangerous, of course. So defending this pawn could be dangerous and tricky against Bobby Fischer, because once you lose that pawn, it is going to be disadvantageous for you as you sacrifice the exchange. But this should have been considered at least. This is most definitely playable. But okay, let's take it back. After queen to e2, rook is going back and Bobby Fischer is landing on a5, and this is looking difficult because Bobby Fischer has now the control of the open a file. And knight to h5 and then g4, kicking the knight back, and then rook to a7, and the rook is on a7. Fischer can also double, and we have e6, and this was actually the final nail on the coffin. So in this position, rook to b7 should have been considered, or knight back, reorganizing the knight. That should have been considered, but actually e6 was a very bad move. Maybe black is cracking under the pressure against Bobby Fischer, which is normal, of course. I'm sure against Bobby Fischer, when you are sitting in front of Bobby Fischer and playing these moves, it should be quite nerve-wracking, and against a very strong legendary chess player, of course, it is normal to crack. And this was a bad move. Can you see why? So black, it looks like on the surface, black is defending the e-pawn with pushing the pawn. But again, I can't stress this enough. Black should have considered defending, fighting for this 7th rank with playing rook to b7. Or computer engine also says that knight to d7 is a good move, but e6 was a very bad move. Actually, can you see why? It is white to move. Well, Fischer simply captured the pawn, and if not capturing back with the pawn, white is basically better. White is going to capture again and going all the way. So that is material advantage for white. So black captured the pawn, and it is white to move. Now Bobby Fischer played a very strong move. So it could be tricky for some chess players to see this move. But if I give you a few seconds, can you guess the next move, the spectacular next move of Bobby Fischer, which is a killer move, a bone-crushing killer move that finishes the game basically on the spot. So this is a little bit tricky, but consider this as the puzzle of the day. So if I give you a few seconds, if you want, you can also pause the video. There is no need to rush. It's a little tricky move for some chess players. So if I give you a few seconds to think, can you guess the next move of white? White plays a move and wins on the spot. You have to resign after that move as black. So let me give you a few seconds. Okay, so your time is up. Bobby Fischer played. Did you see this move? One of the most beautiful textbook examples of the double threat case at chess. This is double threat and black resigned. Basically, Bobby Fischer played bishop to h6. Ooh, that's a killer move. And black simply threw in the towel. Can you see why? Because there is double threat, both attacking on g7, and black doesn't have time to capture the bishop. Because if capturing the bishop, if bishop takes on h6, accepting the bishop sacrifice, then bishop takes on e6, forking the king and the queen. And thank you very much for the game. So bishop to h6 is the move, and if defending the queen with playing rook to e8, then rook takes on g7, check, and thank you very much for this chess game. White is a piece up, and then rook to f7, and actually there is no good defense for this knight. So if knight to d7, then boom, bishop takes on e6, and everything is falling apart for black, of course. So rook to f7, and if knight to d5, then queen to f3, capturing the knight with the bishop, and then queen to f6. How do you defend that? So also this bishop is eyeing on g7, so this is a very difficult position. Okay, so even the rook is on f7 is looking extremely dangerous. This position is unplayable, basically not just materially but also positionally. Black is dead. Okay, so let's quickly check out this interactive chess game, the key moment of this chess game. So Fischer played this spectacular move, takes, and then bishop to h6. And did you see this move? This was the winning move, because again, if capturing the bishop, black is losing the queen, and if defending the queen, then this time not defending the bishop. One of the beautiful examples of the double threat at chess. Rook to f7, and basically this is also all over. So basically after bishop to h6, black resigned. If it was not for this bishop, of course black could have captured the bishop on h6, but why would Bobby Fischer would ever play something like this, of course, if it was not for this bishop. But because there is also the bishop aiming on e6, this is double threat. So you can see that rook on a7 was actually quite important for white. Black should have considered fighting for the 7th rank, but he let that rook stay in there, and then black is basically paying the price big time. So thank you so much for watching. I hope you get some important lessons from this chess game. And okay, so this was also one of the rare unknown chess games, one of the hidden gems in the colorful chess career of Bobby Fischer. So I hope to see you next time with more interactive chess games. Just stay safe, take care, and bye bye.